Lavrov states that the useful thing is to get rid of chemical weapons in Syria, not to adopt a resolution to use force. Rouhani states that everybody should concentrate efforts to end the war in Syria and to end supporting the terrorist gangs. The Syrian armed forces restore security and stability to several areas and continue to target terrorist hideouts. Good afternoon. Welcome to News Bulletin. I'm Dania Nizam. The Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov stressed the necessity of working to get rid of chemical weapons in Syria and to reject the adoption of a resolution allowing the use of force for this purpose. Mr. Lavrov also called upon the UN investigators to return to Syria to continue their job. Lavrov accused foreign powers of using the agreement of the Syrian chemical weapons as a pretext to decision to use force, as he said that the West is blind regarding the Syrian issue and is blackmailing Russia. The Iranian President Hassan Rouhani called upon all countries to concentrate their efforts to stop the war in Syria and to stop supporting the terrorist gangs there. He asserted that it was impossible to end any war by fighting another war, by igniting another war. He also stressed the necessity to see the Syrian opposition standing by the government of its country. He pointed out that Iran and its armed forces continue to work for peace in the region, and the main threat in the region is the Zionist entity, which violates all international conventions with its chemical and nuclear arsenal, which is used to threaten others. The chairman of the Iranian Shura Majlis, Ali Larijani, reaffirmed Iran's attitude, calling for a peaceful solution to the crisis in Syria. In a joint press conference with the Speaker of the Turkish Parliament, who is currently visiting Iran, Mr. Larijani stressed the importance of the role of the Iranian and Turkish parliaments in paving the way to find a peaceful solution to the crisis in Syria. He also stressed the rejection of terrorism and violence. He pointed out that Iran calls upon all countries to confront terrorism and the extremists' thought in the region. In Aleppo, 2 citizens were killed and several others were wounded when mortar shells fell on their houses near a mosque in the city's centre. This also caused heavy damage to the houses and the cars parked in the place. Our valiant armed forces foiled a terrorist suicidal attempt to detonate a booby-trapped car shortly before the car reached the industrial area in Nebuch in the Damascus countryside. The terrorist driver was killed and there were no casualties among the citizens. In the Idlib countryside, our armed forces attacked terrorist groups and hideouts in several places, killing and wounding several terrorists. And in Deir ez-Zor, our armed forces destroyed a tunnel used by the terrorists with its contents of weapons, ammunition and explosive devices, killing a large number of them who were entrenched in a housing building and in some hideouts in the quarter of the old airport. An Egyptian military source asserted that the Turkish part in the International Organization of the Muslim Brotherhood was working to support the terrorist groups in Sinai with weapons and money, within the context of a Euro-American plot to turn Sinai into a conflict area controlled by the terrorist groups. This is similar to the situation in the Afghan mountains during the past few years. The source pointed out that the armed extremist gangs were using highly sophisticated communication equipment that can receive signals from a distance of 30 kilometers. It was probable that such equipment came illegally from Turkey to support the terrorists in Sinai in order to exert pressure on the Egyptian government to force it to approve the inclusion of the Muslim Brothers in the political life of the country and to release their leaders from prison. In Libya, in the atmosphere of chaos and the spread of weapons and armed gangs, terrorists assassinated a security official in Tripoli. A security source said that the official, Adnan al-Shibani, was shot dead near his house. In Daran, a religious cleric was also shot dead in his house. Libyan figures denounced these crimes and called for an end to the chaos prevailing through the cities of Libya. The British paper The Independent asserted that Russia had information pointing out new and strong proof that the terrorist gangs in Syria were involved in the chemical attack in the halt of Damascus.
The paper published an article asserting that Russia had a new proof exposing the date of exporting certain rockets and the countries to which these rockets were sold. The paper pointed out that those rockets were manufactured in the Soviet Union and sold to Yemen, Egypt and Libya in 1967. According to this piece of information, large amounts of Soviet weapons fell into the hands of terrorist groups linked to Al-Qaeda after the NATO aggression on Libya in 2011. These weapons appeared later in Mali, Algeria, Sinai and Syria. The paper said that large amounts of Soviet weapons reached the terrorist gangs in Syria from Libya with the help of Qatar, which supported the terrorists in both countries. The paper concluded that if the Russians did recognize the marks on the remains of the rockets in Al-Ghouta, and if these marks came from ammunition not exported to Syria, this would definitely prove that the criminal gangs in Syria and their foreign supporters used these weapons in order to attract foreign intervention against Syria.
That concludes our news bulletin. Thank you for watching us. For more details, you can visit our website on syriaonline.sy. God bless and long live Syria.